where all of you know where is it. And I guess the international students also already realized where Taiwan is located. Okay, let's see some general. This is the area, 36.190 kilometers square, about 23 million people. And the average rainfall. What do you think the average rainfall in Taiwan is? Make a guess. In Iran was about 250. Worldwide is about 830. What do you think the number is in Taiwan? The average rainfall per year? 2,000? 300? 500?
Maybe 700.
700? Less than average world, yeah? Less than world average.
600.
That's 2,500 millimeters per year. This is the average worldwide. 830 millimeters in Taiwan. 2,500 millimeters per year. Wow. We have too much rain here. We have too much precipitations here. Why should we care about the water problems? We do have lots of rain here. Rain means fresh water, means lake, means rivers, means streams. We do have lots of water. Why should we care about water problems? Actually, the point is that Taiwan is seriously facing water shortage problem. Seriously facing water shortage problem. How? Lots of rain. 2,500? Why we still have water shortage problems? Taiwan has the most rainfall of any advanced economy countries. We have 10 advanced economies with the highest average rainfall. Taiwan has the most rainfall of any developed countries. Wow. It's a gift, right? It's a nature, a gift from the nature. You have lots of rains here. The highest amount of rain compared with the other countries, advanced countries means developed countries. So why we still have a shortage of water? Good to know the reason. Yet, Taiwan's average fresh water per capita below the world average. If you look at these pictures, this is about Taiwan. The average of available fresh water. And this is about the world. It's still less than world. How could it possibly happen? You have lots of rain here. Rain means fresh water source. Why the average availability of fresh water per person is still even lower than the world average? But Taiwan has the most rainfall compared with any other developed countries. Very shocking fact, right? More rain doesn't mean more water. You have lots of rain in your country, many rainfall, but it does not necessarily mean you have more water to drink. You have rain, you have water, you have fresh water coming, but you cannot have it. You cannot drink it. Same thing happened to Taiwan. Almost same thing happened here. You have 2,000, this water pipe means 2,500 millimeters per year. And this means people, they do have lots of rain, but we don't have enough available water to drink. Why? You're familiar with all this. 3 to 4 typhoons generally hit Taiwan per year, providing much of the water supplies. Most of the parts of the precipitations comes from typhoons. Those heavy rains, they cause flooding, landslide, damage. Maybe 1/3 of that 2,500 millimeters of rain comes from the typhoons. Suddenly in 2 days, suddenly in 1 week. We do not have enough time to storage. We do not have enough capacity to storage. Water comes, but water out. Water's in, but water out. We cannot take it. We cannot keep it. Taiwan has the highest rate of precipitations of any developed country in the world. But the interesting point is that this rain-soaked country is running out of water. Many people call Taiwan rain-soaked country. Rain-soaked country means a place that has been immersed in the water, has been soaked in the water. It means you have lots of water here. The main reason is not lack of rainfall, just like Iran. In my country, we have lack of rainfall. You know, the average rainfall is too low. But in Taiwan, the problem is not lack of rainfall. This is the lack of storage capacity. The problem is the lack of storage capacity. In Taiwan, we do not have the capacity to keep the water for ourselves. Water's in, but water's out. We don't we're not able to hold it, to keep it, to save it. And why? Let's see. You see, water comes, but you cannot take it. Most of the rainfall comes in the form of typhoons. This is the first reason. More than half of the Taiwan's rainfall washed out to sea. It comes from the sky, but it washed out to sea. It goes to the salty water. Taiwan cannot accumulate more than 1.5 months of water. It means that if this country faced with some water crisis problems, they only able to keep water for 1.5 months for the people. More than that, people will be with no water availability. Only 1.5. This number for the United States, it's about few years. So it means that their storage capacity is much higher, although their precipitation is less. But in Taiwan, we can only save water for our people for only 1.5 months. And after that, we're going to have a big problem of water shortage. Let's see why. Why this happened? What happens to receiving rainfall in Taiwan? Of the 93 billion tons of rainfall that Taiwan received annually, this is the number of rainfall we have here. 93 billion tons of rainfall. 57% runs directly to the sea. About 60% comes in, directly washed out to the sea. 24% is lost because of the evaporations, hot seasons. The stored water also face another problem. Okay, let's see. 60% is already washed out to the sea. 24% is lost by evaporation, so it's about 84%. We still have about 15 to 20% less. But why we still cannot keep that water? There's another problem here. Why in Taiwan we cannot have the stored water? Taiwan has 18 major reservoirs, but many of them have seen their storage capacity dramatically. The reason is we have 18 big water reservoirs. They should be able to keep water enough for the populations. Why only 1.5 months? Why that low? The main reason is sedimentation. This is the biggest problem in Taiwan. Sedimentations. What does it mean? Why sedimentation has been a big problem of Taiwan's storage capacity? Soil is washed into the rivers, which flow into the reservoirs, collect before the dam. Look at here. It means that we have such a large accumulated silt inside the reservoirs. It should be filled up with water, but actually about 1/3 or 1/6 of the reservoir filled up with silt, with soil. Why? Taiwan's soil is too loose. It's quickly washed out. Landsliding, flooding. So the soil's small particles, silts, will washed out into the reservoirs, filled up the reservoirs by soil instead of water. So the capacity of reservoirs decreased. It's supposed to have, for example, it's supposed to keep 1 million tons of water, but about maybe, for example, 200, 300 cubic already filled up by soils. Capacity is too low. We do have lots of reservoirs, but we do not have enough capacity to hold it. This is a problem in Taiwan because it's been facing with how we can relate this to. We have global warming which means changing in climate patterns. Changing in climate patterns means changing in the typhoons coming, and extreme heavy rains, landsliding, and all means more landsliding means worse the problems. Landslide, what does it mean? Soil is going to wash out from the land into the sea, into the reservoirs, into the lakes. You still remember Typhoon Sudal, right? The students was not here at that time, but I was. In 2015. I was living in Taipei at that time. I actually, to be honest, it helped me a lot, this typhoon, because I could publish one of the very good papers of mine using just the data from Typhoon Sudalers. I published in Nature, which was quite a high publishing rank, because the case was too severe. In my study, I could prove that how the big hurricane like Typhoon Sudal can change water quality of the residents in an urban area. And the water treatment plants are not able to face the crisis once the concentration of organic matter, means those washed out soil, are more than normal. So this is what happens. If the situation is not quickly addressed in Taiwan, the actual capacity of reservoirs for storing water will be down to half of their designed capacity by 2030. If the government has already designed a capacity for the storage reservoir for about a specific number, a half of it will be cut down because of this landsliding, climate change. So we have to think about this. We do have many times when extreme rain happens, the government blocks some roads. It's landsliding, you cannot pass this way, you cannot pass that way. The same thing happened to the lakes, to the reservoirs. They all filled with soils rather than water. So you have water, but you don't have capacity to keep water, to hold it. Other factors. Sometimes leaky pipelines, aging infrastructures. So we do have loss of water a lot. Why? Some people believe that this is because water is too cheap here. The price is too low. Then if you tell the company owner that, why don't you fix your piping system, it has leakage, you're going to lose thousands of liters of water per day. He said, fixing water costs more than having a new water. Water is too cheap here. Why should I fix my piping system? It costs me more than my water bills. Let's have some leakage. My water bills is still lower than the cost I need to pay for fixing the pipelines. So people do not take it serious, and thousands of liters of water every day will be just waste to the wastewater system. That's discouraged people. They don't feel enough incentives. They don't have enough reason to help saving the water. It seems it's available everywhere. So what should we do? Building new dams? Create additional reservoirs? Maybe someone said, okay, maybe we can have more reservoirs. The others are already full. Make more. Why it's not a good suggestion? Look at this picture. Taiwan already occupied with many reservoirs. We do not have enough available space for making a new one again. 8 reservoirs already. It's considered highly unlikely to find the good locations for another water reservoir, because the best ones have already occupied. This is the number of reservoirs. You can read the numbers much better. No, the name is much better than you, not with the pronunciation in Chinese. So you see that most of them have already occupied certain places. So we do not have available land, available places for a good reservoir. So this is not a good option. Maybe someone says we can have dredging, which means cleaning up the bottom of the reservoirs, taking out those moss, those sludge, those soils, and makes it available. It is possible, but remember, it's very expensive. It's costly. The cost of, for example, the cost of dredging Shima rivers estimated 100 million cubic meters of silt, over 50 billion NT dollars. This is billion, not million. Add 6 more zeros to this 50. Add 6 more zeros to this 50. This is the cost the government should apply in order to do the dredging of Shima reservoirs. Just about 100 million cubic meters of silt. And Shima reservoirs, it's very important reservoirs in northern Taiwan. Many populations in Taipei depends on this reservoir. About 1/6 of it, if I'm not wrong, has been already covered by soil and silt. If they want to just remove 100 million cubic meters of the silt, they have to spend 50 billion NT dollars. Huge money. It's just for one reservoir, just 100 cubic meters. Big numbers. So we have to think about something else. Technologies are being developed to improve Taiwan's water situations. Recently, government's forward-looking infrastructure development programs, they call it for building the sealing tunnels in reservoirs to drain out the sediments. This is good, although it came a bit late, but still can be applied. They're going to make some tunnels inside the reservoirs. Once we have washed out soils into the reservoirs, there would be another way to go. So there would be a tunnel inside the reservoirs, bottom of the reservoirs. The silts will be washed out by the flow of the water. So at least they can have less accumulated soils in the reservoirs. They may appear to be full of water, but the country suffers from serious lack of water still, clearing of silt, and more importantly, conservation of catchment areas are simply management measures. Why I mention this? One way is clearing out of the silt, clear the bottom of this. But another thing is conservation of catchment areas. In Shiman Reservoir, if you've been there, around that area, there are many illegal camping sites. Many people, they set camping area They make that because it's a good source of income, right? The tourist, it's a very nice view, very nice weather, north of Taiwan, fresh air, nice view. So many tourists, many people come to pay money to stay 1 night, 2 nights in the camping out on that altitude. So many of the indigenous people, local people, they rent the lands or they sell the lands to the people for the camping. Many of them are illegals. Illegals means they will put their trashes directly into the reservoirs. The waters, the wastewaters, the collected garbages, just dumped out into the reservoirs catchment area or around that. So we do have a problem of contaminations, pollutions, not just about the silver. This is another thing we should take it seriously. We have to secure our planet by securing the water. Water security is a process, not a procedure, not a product. We have to work on that if we want to reach to that. We should not say, okay, we need to take this and that step, then we get into the water secure world. It's the process we have to start from the beginning. How we should link this into the sustainable development. This is just a few slides more on how we can link the water security to sustainable development goals. You're familiar, we have 17 goals in sustainable development proposed by the World Committees. How we can make our world more sustainable. Let's see how water can be included. The capacity of populations to safeguard, so it's about the people, populations. Sustainable access to adequate quantities of acceptable quantity of water. Sustainable access means you have access to water and your kids have access to water and your grandchildren have access to water. Sustainable access. For sustaining livelihoods, human well-being, and socio-economic development. Acceptable quantity, sustainable access. These are keywords. Don't mess up with lots of definitions. Just